I think me and Andy probably got into this business around the same time, sort of early last year.
Exactly. I think actually 12 months, same time actually as Rivet's done the ICO, so it's been a year now.
Lots of familiar faces who continually pop up. And I think the first time we were obviously one of the first ICOs that TokenMarket sort of did a full service advisory package for. And here you are now, obviously 12 months down the line, which probably feels like 10 years.
I mean, in the crypto world, I think 1 year feels actually like 10 years because it's 24/7, 365 days. So it's kind of wild, I think, and sometimes very exhausting too.
Absolutely, and I think I think a lot of people who come here, there's probably a number of people who are at a certain stage where they're looking at launching their ICO. They have a kind of good idea of how they're looking to package, which lawyers they need to speak to, which process they need to go through. I think we've done 30 plus ICOs now, and we always try to prepare our clients that there are about 1,000 things that they will not realise as they go through the process. And sometimes it's quite nice to actually get someone who's been through that to maybe give a little bit more insight. I mean, in terms of obviously the stage you're at the moment, maybe it'd be good to have a quick introduction in terms of the concept for the ICO and sort of where you guys are now, and obviously the platform itself.
So we did the ICO last year in June. We collected 21,500 Ether back then. We actually released our 2 apps that we promised. It's a working product. We have 2.3 million active users, monthly active users right now. And users already sent more than 100 terabytes to other numbers of data. So we see for sure that the product is working. So right now we're kind of adjusting our technology and user experience. And I think we also listed on about 7 or 8 exchanges, and we are going to do more in the near future.
And how many countries are you in now?
We are live in more than 10 countries, mostly in South America, and surprisingly, Nigeria is a really, really big country for us. We have been very successful and kind of, got a moment there. So we get thousands of registrations from Nigeria right now.
Fantastic. And I think one of the first times I met Andy was one of the first real big dips in ETH. So it was around kind of, I think, July time. ETH had this incredible kind of run from sort of $30 in January, February, and it ran all the way up to $300. And we were on a boat in Barcelona with probably 100 crypto millionaires, I imagine. It was quite ridiculous. And ETH plummeted to $160 with a load of guys at an ICO event. Probably the first of many hiccups as we kind of went through the process. I mean, as you kind of look back on it now at those kind of early stages, what are the things that came like completely out of the blue for you as you kind of were starting to plan and go through those first couple of months?
I mean, there's so many things actually. I mean, I wasn't really aware that exchanges are so important as they are.
And hard to get hold of.
And hard to get, and it's a different kind of attitude. Some you have to pay, some you don't have to pay. In the end, nobody really knows. Also, of course, having a community. I mean, we have more than 9,000 or almost 9,000 people on Telegram. So, I mean, we still have them. And they still reach out to us. I mean, we have a very strict kind of community where we actually ban people with all the Van Moon, Van Bitrex, Van whatever bullshit. So that makes it, I think, a big difference. And we're also being part of I'm there. My co-founder Miko is there regularly. So you have this power with the community because once we release the app, for example, we got couple of hundreds positive reviews on iOS and Android App Store. Of course, people wanted to support their own project, but I mean you have a lot of power to actually be more visible in the normal world.
And obviously with that transparency, there's also the other side as well. And obviously it's great if you have a user base of 10,000 people who are flying the flag for you and wanting you to see well, but often that can change overnight, it seems, in terms of the sea change.
So if we want to do testing, we reach out to our users, we get numbers from different countries. So it makes it a lot of easier And also, of course, hard too, because they can, I mean, everyone can reach out to me anytime because I'm there. So it's kind of, you know, strange too, because people are requesting so many informations, and first of all, I'm not willing to share all of them, and second of all, I can't share all of them. But people are so into the project, so they are, you know, they feel like they're having rights, and they actually technically they don't have. But since they are supporters, you kind of, you know, want to be supportive for the community.
It's a really hard balance, because obviously in this kind of world, it's around trying to be as transparent as possible, and, you know, ensuring you're engaging a community. You actively want to participate in what you're actually going to develop. But this is business as well, right? I mean, if there's certain things that you want to be able to keep secret until they're ready to kind of launch. You don't want to be announcing, you know, things that you're very small amounts of development on. I mean, how did you find sort of managing that within the channels? What kind of tactics did you kind of sort of deploy to help sort of make those guys supporters rather than a baying mob who wanted to sort of go after you and scream at you through that channel?
I think our community calls us silent killers, because we never really share any information. We just share information once we actually have done it. I think that's a big difference to other projects. And it makes it more, you know, now you're kind of developing this trust as well, that I think is very important in the crypto world, because obviously there's so much other stuff going on that's not nice, a lot of scam projects as well. So I think building the trust and kind of teaching the people how we are communicating our own way, because I mean, I'm not doing this the first time. It's one of many other companies I did before. So we kind of know what we're doing. And I think you have to teach the people a little bit that they can kind of trust you, and, you know, and don't really...
I think, unfortunately, you maybe get painted with the same brush as a number of the other projects which are out there, right? So you have even quite prominent coins where guys are saying 3 months, huge news, 2 months, huge news, and then it's really some shitty news, and everyone turns, and everyone's not too happy, and feels like they're being scammed. And I guess sometimes the way people act within other areas of the business, they, you know, that kind of gets transcended upon you, and you kind of get, you know, caught up in that mix. I mean, in terms of kind of the wider community, and we had a conversation offline about this as well. How have you found it working with partners or people, you know, looking to work with Dent within certain territories? So, you know, outside of the community itself, how have you found handling that?
I mean, I always say persistence beats resistance. So that's how we work. But actually, I mean, now we're actually in a point where more and more people are getting aware of us and actually reaching out to us. So I think in the end, it's just a normal business. I mean,
I find myself saying due diligence about 100 times a day in many different aspects of this area, because I think you just get so much noise that comes in from so many different angles, so many people proclaiming to be like, you know, certain profits or being able to give you access to a certain market or to an exchange or to a fund, and constantly you're having to almost vet every single piece of activity that's sort of happening.
I mean, when I wake up in the morning, I mean, I have Skype, I have WeChat, I have Kakao Talk, I have Telegram, you have iMessage, email, then you have Slack, you know, and I need an hour just to observe what's going on, because...
How many phones did you get through last year? I literally got through 3 from battery alone, just from all of these things.
It's just insane, you know, and it happens every single day, because there's no pause. It's always something going on somewhere in the world, and somebody wants to do something or is reaching out to me at 1 a.m. in the morning. I don't know, you know, because the world is... But that's part of it, and you need to get somehow to getting used to it, to deal with it, and focus on the more important things and try to find your way. But I mean, I'm not good in answering emails anymore, because, you know,
just don't answer them. Just try and optimize. I'm probably the best scanner of subject lines out there at the moment, I think, because if we were going to answer every single TokenMarket email, it's just
too much. It's just too much information, and I'm trying to focus. And I mean, calling people is still the best thing to do, I think. But
absolutely. And in hindsight, you know, in hindsight's a great thing, right? You can look back. Is there anything that sort of sticks out, like a certain moment where you thought, God, if I could go back, I would do things so differently, knowing what I know now? I mean, obviously the market's iterated, it's changed a huge amount, but is there any kind of defining point where you sort of think, God, I wish I did things completely the opposite?
I mean, I had these points, but from now, I think we did everything like I would do it again, actually. I mean, I don't really...
Well, you guys have been super successful, so, you know...
We've been very successful, we had a good
that,
timing. I don't see anything that I or we would have liked to change. I don't know. I mean, I think it's tougher nowadays, actually, to gain interest and raise money than it was a year ago. I think that's the difference. So I know that we kind of being in the right moment, in the right time frame.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously back then it was pure utility. There was no kind of KYC in very, very early days. And obviously, as you say, you know, the access to some of the exchanges as well, because there was fewer products or projects or ICO advisories or token issuance companies, you were able to cut through the noise somewhat. And it's, you know, something we see as a major problem. I mean, certain studies came out, I think it was one last week, that 71% of these ERC20 tokens, the smart contract itself, is very easily hackable, and they can't get listed on the exchange because of that.
And also, I think 50% of all the ICOs from 2017 already failed. So, I mean, I'm lucky to be, not lucky, but I'm lucky to be alive already, or still alive. So.
And those are of the ones which got funded. The amount that had an idea, got to a certain stage, and never actually got through. I mean, I'd say it's probably higher than that, 90% fail rate that we always sort of refer back to in more kind of traditional markets. I mean, we talked a lot about the past, and obviously you guys, fantastic stance. You've got a growing user base. You're opening up different countries and what have you. As the kind of the environment continues to change, and very, very hard to predict, what will happen next, as we've seen for the last year, are there any certain things that you're particularly focusing on in terms of how you're changing how you operate?
I think our focus was always on the product. I think that's the only thing I can do. I mean, I can't really change the market. I mean, I don't have the power. So what we actually just do is just focusing on the product, make it more usable, getting access to more countries, more operators worldwide, and just deliver as we promised. Because I think that's a lacking point, what lots of ICOs don't really do as much. So we are just in the normal business mode in the end. And of course, with all the ups and downs of the crypto world.
Super refreshing for me to hear. This has a big impact on what we do. So that's it's really, really nice to say. We obviously always keep in touch with all the guys that we've worked with. Right.
And also, of course, what I would say, nobody has really Korea on his landmark, I think, because I've been 5 times in Korea in the last 12 months. And I think lots of people don't really understand that Korea is such a big crypto market worldwide. And I think that's something I can share for sure.
Absolutely. And I was out there a couple of weeks ago speaking with one of the major law firms there. And there's now a pension fund who are taking a small percentage, and that is solely dedicated to crypto investments. And that's at the ICO stage, and also, more mature coins.
Exactly. Bitam, for example, the biggest exchange in Korea by trading volume by trading volume, they have 44 million registered users, and in Korea have 50 million people living in Korea. So you kind of get an understanding. It's only one exchange out of many. So it just gives you an understanding how crazy this country is about blockchain and the crypto world.
It's really interesting because I think a lot of that maybe has come from the kind of the involvement of the general public in the FX markets. So you see a huge kind of spike in terms of people who have participated and are used to actually going into quite volatile markets. Obviously, it's slightly different scale, percentage points rather than swings of 10 and 12. And maybe that's a little bit easier for those guys to come in, because I had a sense that, yes, you have big syndicates, you have big funds, but there seems to be more what you would call almost like dentist-like investors. Yeah. So a guy who will come in and maybe do 40 ETH, 50 ETH, 60 ETH to participate, but really ask smart questions. Really goes into real sort of in-depth analysis of how a project is sort of being set out. Probably more so than some of the VCs that, or larger kind of partners that people speak to. I'd like to just maybe take it at this point. I mean, does anyone have any burning questions for Andee? I mean, he's obviously had a fantastic journey, all the way back from sort of September last year, all the way through to where they are now with a product that's deployed, that's doing incredibly well. If anyone would, like to answer anything uncandidly of Andee, please raise your hand. It's just one here.
More of an operational question.
Sure.
What would hold back a telco from partnering with you guys?
Say it again?
What would hold back a telecom partner from partnering with you guys? Like, have you had any challenges getting telecoms on board?
I mean, it's like everywhere you have...
Other than the stigma.
You have like 50%. I mean, you have to find the other 50% of the open, customer in the end. You have this 50% that are conservative and they don't want to talk to you yet. But, I mean, it's like everywhere. I mean, it's new, but persistence beats resistance.
Yeah, you certainly need that in this market. Is there anyone else maybe like a question? Seeing as we're running a bit out of time, I think we'll wrap it up. But Andee, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.